it wouldn't let me on. I think they're having issues. Mm-hmm. Did you?
Tell me I'm not.
I don't think so.
Now we
Show me what you're like. He would have been, which is about, I guess, 5 years. Good. Call this meeting of the Oxford Historic Preservation Commission to order. Welcome to our visitors. We're glad to have you with us. First item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. There are copies in the back of the room, and I believe all the commissioners have one. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I so moved.
Is there a second?
A second.
Motion and second. All in favor of approving the agenda, say aye. Aye. Next item is the approval of the minutes from the March 21st meeting. Are there any corrections or additions to those minutes as presented? If not, is there a motion to approve the minutes from March 21? Motion, is there a second? Motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Minutes are approved. The next items are administrative approvals, which have already occurred. Unless someone has a question about any of those, we will move past those. Well, okay. I'm looking at the online agenda. Do we want to get a report on the Fancher property now or wait? Okay.
I put it on the online agenda and forgot to add it to the paper agenda. But the real update is that we don't have any news at this time. The next hearing that was set by the judge is next week. And to our knowledge, there hasn't been any work done at the property, and they haven't come in for any review or permits or anything like that, so.
May we ask to have an update after that hearing?
Sure.
You
I
can
can.
email each one of us individually, would you do that? Thank you.
Well, what happened at the previous hearing?
The judge gave them 60 days to begin work on the property, and they were supposed to come in with an update, at this next hearing.
But during the 60-day period, the judge gave the Fanchers 60 days to at least physically begin work. But part of that understanding was that whatever work they were going to do had to be approved by the city beforehand. So the fact that they have not come to the city with any plans or proposals about work they intend to do, and we're just a couple of weeks or less away from the date, and at that date, it will become another hearing in the court. So we're two weeks away from the 60-day
Yes.
period?
And as I understand it, wasn't it 30 days to hire a contractor and then 30 days to show what they wanted to do to be approved by the city? Was that what I
So
understood?
those deadlines had passed, those were set by this commission, and those deadlines passed, and once those deadlines passed with no action, that's when it was sent to the court system. So that's separate from what's going on now.
But even if they had forgotten to come to the city, I've ridden by recently, and there's no sign or signal that any work has been done in any manner. Thank you, Kate. We move on now to public hearings. The first public hearing is case number 677, a COA requested by Dr. Walker and Melissa Swaney to demolish an existing outbuilding and to add on to the existing building, build a new carport and other site changes to 624 North Lamar Boulevard. We welcome more information.
Okay. So as you guys saw laid out in your staff report and on the updated agenda, we're going to go through a couple of items that you'll be voting on today. So some additions to the existing main house and the addition of a pool in the rear yard. You're going to vote on those. And then there are a couple of items that the applicant would like to discuss on a complementary basis, which is the demolition of the existing outbuilding and to build a new carport. So first, we're going to do the items that are up for a vote. You're going to vote, and then we'll move into the complementary review, so to hopefully make it less confusing. So the applicant seeks approval by the commission for additions to the existing house and to install a pool, and for complementary review of the demolition of the existing outbuilding and to install a new carport. The commission will consider and vote on the additions and pool and move into a complementary review for the other items. The subject property is known as the Longstreet Carter Cobb House. It's described in the Historic Resource Inventory Survey as a circa 1910, two-story, five-bay frame with brick veneer, neoclassical style house. The core of this house dates to 1865, and it was completely renovated in 1910. So the proposed additions, I'll describe them to you, and then when the applicant's designer comes up to speak, we can put the plans up as he would like. The applicant requests approval to install new additions in the southeast corner of the existing building and for small changes to the north elevation of the existing porch. You saw in your report that we included some excerpts from the design guidelines related to additions to historic buildings. The proposed additions composed primarily of hardy plank siding, though the existing kitchen addition wall will remain brick with brick veneer for the foundation. The roof over the new addition will be a standing seam copper roof. Where columns are used, they're simpler in style than that of the original house, which is appropriate for an addition to a contributing resource. The addition clearly reads as new, as recommended by the design guidelines, and the addition, though it does not sit fully behind the main house, is set quite far back from the front elevation of the house. And due to the location and the heavy vegetation on the lot, I don't anticipate that it'll be highly visible. The applicant also proposes to install a new pool in the rear yard, which will be enclosed with iron fencing. We've done a few pools recently, so you guys are familiar, but the Oxford Design Guidelines do not offer recommendations or guidance for the installation of pools in the historic district. And that being said, the pool is simple in design and will not be visible at all from the street. And it will not have a discernible effect on the historic district as a whole. So staff is recommending approval of those elements of the COA as proposed. And Frank, if you'd like to come up and say anything about the design. And I can go to whatever page.
You know, just to sort of say again a little more slowly than Kate talks. No, I appreciate your efficiency. The request is for an addition on one side of the house, also the addition of a pool, some other modifications. The request does not include the new carport or a demolition of a small outbuilding that is there. Frank, welcome.
Thank you, Frank Tyndall, representing Dr. Walker and Melissa Swaney. So let's just start with the pool. Like Kate said, it's very simple. It is just a rectangle. It's dropped down 18 inches. It's not visible from anywhere but the property and the house. I do have fencing all the way around the whole yard, and we're working with some existing retaining walls on the house side of the pool, and on the back side of the pool are new retaining walls that will be less than 6 feet, hopefully about 4 feet. So we're connecting the existing brick sidewalk and steps, and then the decking around the pool will be bluestone. And then we'll do appropriate landscaping.
Questions from the commissioners about, these requests?
And it seems quite simple to me, and it's not visible anywhere.
It's really a beautiful property. I visited your home Saturday. I did attempt to knock on the back door, but, nobody came, so I wandered through your backyard. It's certainly one of our most attractive, residences, and you do such a good job of keeping it, attractive and, celebrating events, so we appreciate that very much. Any questions or comments about, maybe if you, took us through a couple more of the...
Well, do you want to go ahead and talk about the addition now? Are we done with the pool, or do you want to vote on it?
No,
now?
go ahead and tell us about the addition too,
Okay.
please.
All right. So the addition, that's existing, kitchen and family room. So, if we go to the floor plan, keep going to the new floor plan, which is here, we're going to renovate the new kitchen as is. We do want to, there are 3 windows in the kitchen wall, and we want to eliminate one of them that's not original. The other 2 original windows we'd like to put together over the kitchen sink, so we'll have more cabinet space. And then we add the 12 feet out to the south, which is a pantry, and 12 more feet to the existing family room. The existing family room has square pilasters with windows in between, and when we add the 12 feet, we have the exact dimensions to keep the symmetry going with the windows between the columns, and it looks more like a sun porch. And then there's a small 6-foot porch on the south side of that. All of that existing addition is all painted. We'll be using no-rot products, looks like wood, and the pantry area, we're proposing to do horizontal hardy board, painted white, and we'll be patching the kitchen window, which is there, the second one from the bottom, where I have the windows put together. And we'll be patching that brick. I've located some antique red brick that it's close, but we're still looking for the perfect match. And we may be able to use the existing brick that we have. When we go into the pantry area, we could steal a few bricks from that 9-foot section, and we may be able to gather enough bricks there to make that wall look like it's never been patched. And Kate said copper roof, but we may be doing copper-colored metal just for cost. The fireplace right now would be in the view of the pool, and it was built incorrectly, so we're going to put the fireplace on the south side so we can view the pool and get a better working fireplace. It will be red brick.
And this is really not easily noticeable from the front view of the house.
A lot of vegetation.
Yeah.
So nobody will even, when you drive down the street, you won't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
Really.
Will the fireplace be the same color as the house? Because I know
Yes.
you can
red.
see that from the road.
Red,
With just due to the height of the fireplace.
right, red brick. we have a phase two on this that we're still asking for permission, but over on the side of the house, it is, on the bottom picture, there's a carport, if you zoom in, that little window with the little balcony, that's a small porch, with a window on it, and, I mean, it's only like 4 feet deep or something. So we were proposing to do a little bit of renovation in the bathroom and bring that wall out to the railing, where it's just a foot deep, but it looks the same as it looks now. If I thought of an option for that wall, because we're gonna have to remove those bricks, to maybe reuse those bricks over on the kitchen window and put siding in there, if anybody objected to that. I think we could go either way depending on our bricks, if we have trouble finding them.
Does anybody have questions about the modifications and the addition on the rear of the house and the new fireplace chimney, which are the official requests today? If nobody does, then I'll accept a motion to approve those items.
As presented.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion of that question? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And now we will move into a discussion, a complimentary review of the next phase of this, which I believe would be the addition of the carport and the removal of an existing structure. Do you want to tell us about that?
Katie, if you go back to the site plan, please. So there is, the hatch mark shows the carport addition, which is a two-car carport, permacast, square white permacast columns, shutters in between, a storage room, a pool house bath, and a little grill porch that looks out toward the backyard.
Does everybody see the hatched rectangle that he's referring to?
The large rectangle.
Yeah.
So just to the north, top of that, it says existing shed. So there's an existing shed there that we're proposing to remove. It's not in very good shape. We do have another outbuilding that's a charming little outbuilding on the back side. So looking at this building, we can't add on to it to make it a carport or modify it in any way. I think it would cancel out any, sir, ma'am? Okay. It's in serious disrepair. It's been added on enough that a good bit of it is new, some of it's still.
Is there an exterior photo of the building?
We didn't do it.
I've got one here if you want. Just a little white frame.
So as far as the outbuilding goes, any way that I do a carport for them to get out of the rain, it's going to touch or be within a foot of that structure. So I've looked at turning the carport this way, that way, up, back, any way you do it. It's just the shed is just in the way. And they've fallen down the steps, each of them, in slick, wet conditions, and they would like to have a carport that they can get in and out of the house when it's raining and safely. So that's the purpose of it. We know that that's a somewhat contributing building, but there's no way I can add a carport without involving it. So that's why we're asking for removal.
This is a complimentary review, so it's really the time for anybody that has any questions or concerns. This is the opportunity to raise those, so they will have an idea of what kind of reaction we might have if they come back, when they come back for an official request. I'm just curious, is that little building on the registry? Is it a contributing structure?
It's listed on the resource inventory for the main house as contributing. So, which is one of the reasons I think they decided to go complementary, just to get a read on what the commission is thinking regarding that building. It's pretty altered. There's some original exterior siding remaining, but it has been replaced a lot over the years, and there's nothing on the interior, it's just a exterior kind of lap siding shed, so it would make sense that some of that siding has had to be replaced.
Got a shingle roof on the front and an old tin roof on the back.
I think your issue on safety is real important, like, we as a commission always look at that. And if it is a safety issue, whether because it's in bad condition or because it's awkward or hazardous for the residents to use, then that's something that we would really pay attention to.
We ask for hardships. I think it's a true hardship, not a semi-hardship, which you may see sometimes, but to come in and out of the house and not fall on the steps when it's raining is, I think, important.
The chair does not hear anybody that seems to be concerned about the preservation of this outbuilding. Am I correct? So, as they say, enough said.
But we do need to do it on the COA.
I think we did.
Did we? Okay.
Kate, is there any other business to do with this? Well, so that would be something we could do now. Yeah, you can talk about the design, if there are any concerns, if they would be returning to that surplus. Is to look at the design of the proposed carport.
Kate, would you move I'm not picking up the internet for some reason, so.
There it is.
I'm trying to keep it as low as possible. There's a large hedge in front of it, so you are not going to really notice it from the street. But I have kept the pitch low. I've changed the roof to a metal roof that makes it look different, and shutters between the permacast columns on that elevation, and then go to the next elevation. And
it sits pretty far back from the front facade of the house.
Way back, way back. So The bottom one would be the elevation, the north elevation, so it's a carport, so the columns it's open, and then the storage room is to the left with a hardy plank siding. So it's very, very simple. And the next one, second one up, shows a little grill area facing the backyard. It has iron fencing on the backyard side of the carport, and then the south side is just hardy paint.
Looks very discreet.
Well, it's 42 inches below the porch, which helps keep it low, and we have to go down the steps anyway, so the steps will be under a connecting cover, and then that way it can be down on the existing level.
Are there any questions or comments about the carport addition? It appears to be a good design and appropriate. So, again, we have no, but we have no negative comments, so I think that's a positive as you go forward. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. The next case on our agenda is, two pages, I keep going back to the first ones. 678. 678. Public hearing requested by Britt Boatwright to add a new pergola, wood screening, fireplace and outdoor grill, and new lighting at 604 South 8th Street.
Okay, this house should be familiar to you all. The applicant received approval for renovations to the existing house in July of 2021, which included raising the existing back deck to the same plane as the house. It's kind of an interesting backyard. It has a very steep drop-off, and it backs up to Dixieland, which is a very large property. The further additions to the deck proposed here are all in the rear yard deck area of the property and will not be highly visible from South 8th Street, other than previously approved stairs, which you may see but are pretty minimal. The pergola will not be visible over the ridge line of the existing roof. The proposed fireplace and screening will sit in the recessed area behind the existing line of the side elevation. So there's an addition to the house that's recessed from that side elevation, and so you're not going to see those items. The materials proposed, wood, brick, and canvas, are appropriate for use in the historic district. And the applicant also proposes the installation of new fixtures on the front elevation. I did describe that a little bit in your staff report, just because they are they're gas lanterns. The style of the fixture is appropriate for the style of the property. Obviously, when this house was built, it would not have had gas lanterns. It would have had electric fixtures. But that's something you see pretty commonly in Oxford, a lot of houses that were built later. It's very in style now. And, it's not a permanent change for the house, so I don't know that necessarily merits denial. So that's why staff is recommending approval of the COA as proposed, and the applicant, Britt, is here if anyone has questions for him. But all in all, mostly rear yard changes that will not be visible.
Mr. Boatwright, welcome to the meeting. Is there anything you'd like to add to what Kate has presented to us? The floor is open for questions or comments about this COA. Somebody's doing a great job, because we don't have any comments and questions about it.
Looks great.
It's running smoothly. Uh, Without questions or comments, is there a motion to approve this COA?
So moved.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor of approving case number 678, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It passes. Thank you. Next case is number 679, COA requested by Phase One LTD to build a new house on the existing empty lot at 504 North 15th Street.
The applicant requests approval to build a new single-family home on the existing lot on North 15th Street. The proposed house will be one of what the applicant has named the Porchview subdivision, which notes this building and two homes that were the subject of some administrative approvals, number 680A and number 681A. The reason we saw those as administratively is that they were already approved by this commission, and the COA had expired. It had been over a year, and there were no proposed changes to those plans. So the applicant was able to move forward and get those approved. This house has not been seen by this commission, though it is very much in the style of the other two houses that the applicant is building on North 15th. The proposed house features materials commonly approved for new construction in the historic district. There's an asphalt shingle roof, it's hardy siding and trim, wood columns, brick veneered foundation. The house plans include a detached carport at the rear, which will be connected to the house by an arbor. The proposed new building is appropriate in scale and is oriented correctly on the lot, with the primary entrance and facade fronting North 15th Street. The proposed hardy and asphalt shingle are common for new buildings in the historic district. While the larger hipped roof form is not common in the historic buildings in the district, use of the pediment and dormers and the proposed front porch do recall some prevalent detailing in Oxford's historic homes. Similarly, the use of the full-height windows with transoms that you see on the front elevation, that's not a historic feature, but the plans do include some smaller divided light windows that recall the proportions of our existing historic buildings. Staff is recommending approval of the COA with one condition, that the window schedule at the time of permitting shows true or simulated divided light windows as recommended by the design guidelines. We almost always add that as a condition when there's not a window schedule included with the plans. This architect generally uses windows that are true or simulated divided light, so I'm not too worried about that. So Jay is here, if anyone has any questions for him, or for me.
Welcome, Jay.
Thank you.
Questions about the proposed house, or questions for Mr. Hughes? Jay, would you like to add anything to Kate's presentation? Yes, from the floor. Please identify yourself, and we can just hear you better if you come up here probably. Or at least halfway, whatever's comfortable.
Hi, I'm Sonia Thompson. I'm a neighbor. I live on North 14th Street. I was just curious about the driveway situation and parking, if you were going to have a double, I don't know the terminology, the lingo, but a double driveway or a single, because they're just such narrow streets.
They are single driveways, but they're, like the one at my house, they're over 80 feet deep that accommodate 4 cars, and then 2 in the back.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
The parts of the plans are very hard to read. I don't know whether it's a technical issue, but it's difficult to really see a lot of the detail. Does anybody have any question or observations about the house? Yeah, that's the one that's a little scrambled.
Mr. Garner, I just mentioned that.
And if you would introduce yourself, please.
Yes, sir. My name's Jay Hughes, and the difficulty on that is without clicking on it, it keeps all of those lines on it, and I understand that's hard. We also generated these 2/3D drawings just to illustrate it. That was Archiviz that did that. I don't think it truly captures the essence of what we're doing there in terms of style. I hate that it didn't show the driveway better, but true to form for that time period were single wide driveways that went deep back, and that's what was allowed on it. I mean, that's, pardon me? Okay, yeah, there's the site plan. So Sonia, if you can see where it says 504 on the left, that's a 12-foot wide, and it goes all the way back. It opens up into 2 and then 2 car parking spots as well. And it's the full depth of the house. The house is set back 20 feet, then there's another 67 feet, and then there's the 24-foot deep garage. No, ma'am, I had it straight. The planning department wanted to give a curve to it, and so I agreed that that's what they wanted. And we will provide the window schedule. As you know, they will be SVL or they'll be top of the line Geldwin or Marvin.
Are there any questions about the design of the house from any commissioner?
I just think it needs more windows.
Oh, gosh, it's got $37,000 worth of them. Show the side there. The windows correspond to the rooms. Of course, the front is that front room on the right is a bedroom, a guest bedroom, and so it's got the bay window out there that's a double wide, and then the right side wall is the place for a headboard in that room, as we do try to think about furniture layout.
Any other questions or comments? If not, is there a motion that we approve COA 679?
I make a motion to approve.
There's a motion. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? The COA is approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next case is number 682. COA requested by J.W. McCurdy to build a new house on the existing empty lot at 1409 South Lamar Boulevard. As we see from the documents that we received, we approved a very similar version of this sometime back. There are a couple of modifications to this presentation, and Kate, if you would.
I need to recuse myself
I'm sorry.
from the rest of the meeting.
Virginia, we're going to have to cut your salary in half. But Virginia is recused from this, and I think the rest of the case. Kate, thank you.
Okay, so, the applicant requests approval for plans that have been previously approved by the commission, COA number 511. and COA number 500 with some slight modifications from the last time that it was seen, which was case number 511. The new home will be built on an existing empty lot in the South Lamar Historic District. The area was previously like a ravine that was filled in, so there was no demolition there. The two prior case files were attached to your packet. Some changes that have been made to the plan since the final approval of COA number 511 were listed, including the use of siding rather than painted brick, pedimented rather than shed dormers on the front elevation, and there were a few changes to the front and side window configuration. These changes are acceptable according to the recommendations of the Oxford Design Guidelines. And actually, the first iteration of this house that was approved by the commission, case number 500, did feature siding before that change to painted brick, so it's really not that big a departure from what was approved before. And the applicant is here as well as his architect, if anyone has questions for that.
Thank you. Jonathan, the architect, is here. To take questions or explain anything. I like this one better than the first one we approved, so it gets better every time we see it, Jonathan. Any comments or questions about the revised version of this to-be-built house?
Just so you're clear too, the grade on the site now is actually the lowest level, it's the basement level. When the house is built up, it'll be at the street level.
Okay, that's good, that's good.
Really?
Not to the knowledge.
What about the driveway? I think there was some concerns about coming on to Lamar at one time, the first, when we talked about it initially.
It is where it is. I don't think there's any issues with the engineering department for that driveway being there. It is, very close to the intersection of Old Taylor Road, but, every other driveway along there connects onto the street as well in that stretch.
I think I had a concern only personally, and that was because I exit off of Old Taylor Road all the time, and I was wondering how that would affect me.
Now you have to look three.
It doesn't have a thing to do with what you're asking, I was just, it was personal.
It's good sight lines from that.
Was the intention always for the lot to be brought up to street level?
Yeah. Once the foundation level, which would be the lowest level, is built, then it can be backfilled to create the front yard level with the street.
It's a nice looking house.
It's a lovely home.
It's closer to the original design. We did have an application for painted brick. A prospective buyer wanted that approved, and we did, but the McCurdy's are going to live here themselves, and so for Megan, we put it back, changed the dormers to be a little more traditional. But it's very similar to what was approved twice.
No questions or comments? If not, is there a motion to approve this case number 682?
I so move.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any other comments? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The COA is approved. Thank you, Jonathan. Next item on the agenda is case 683, COA requested by Brad and Tatum Freeman to replace exterior siding, the front door, and the front stoop, as well as add a railing at 1420 South 10th Street. Okay.
Okay, this one should look the most familiar because we talked about it last month. The applicant received approval, or 2 months ago, the applicant received approval in March of 2022 for several changes to the existing structure. It is listed as contributing in the historic district. The applicant returned today with a few requests, which were laid out for you in your report with staff comment and relevant portions of the design guidelines. They would like to replace the front door with a new wooden glass door, which you can see in the top right corner of the plan. The door is too tall for the proposed opening, and the applicant proposes to cut the door to fit the existing front entry. I wouldn't say that the proposed door is the same style as the existing house, but it's pretty simple in style. It looks to me like one of paired doors that would have gone in like a Queen Anne house, or maybe an Italianate house based on the scroll. But it's not inappropriate for the property. The only concern, and this was made a staff condition, is that the door, and maybe Jonathan can address this, but the door wouldn't be the correct width for the door frame, and how that would be addressed? It is? Okay, great, okay. And then they're planning to cut the door down to be the correct height. The applicant would like to replace the existing front asbestos siding with lap siding, and I can scroll one step down, but he provided a profile of that siding. The sides and rear of the house don't match the siding on the front elevation of the house. So this would sort of make everything match, and also the proposed profile is appropriate for the age of the house. And then they would also like to add a railing, they would like to overlay the existing stamped concrete front stoop steps and sidewalk. If any of you have driven by the house, it's quite a large entry for a minimal traditional style house, and I suspect that it's been altered. So, and you know, with the brick veneer on the existing foundation, it's appropriate for this house. So staff's recommending approval of that. And you should have received in your email today a detail that Jonathan sent of the new proposed railing. It's very simple in style, which is what would be recommended for this age of house. So staff is recommending approval of the COA. And then it seems that the conditions are no longer relevant because the door is the correct width, and we received the handrail detail in time for this meeting, which I'll pull that up for you guys to take a look if you didn't look in your email. So we're recommending approval of the COA as proposed. I'm happy to answer any questions you have, and Jonathan is the applicant's architect.
You've heard the request. Are there observations or questions from any of the commissioners? I have a question. The photograph of that door, is that distorted?
It looks like it's about 10 or 12 feet tall.
It looks like it's 14 feet tall.
The top and sides of the door are simple, and the glass can be cut down easily, so that can be dropped down to 6'8". I think it's about 9 feet tall now. It still have a similar 3/4, 1/4 proportion that a door would have, and like that. The door that we're replacing is not the original door in the house, and the goal is simply just to get more light into the front entry, and add a little bit of curb appeal. I think that's important to the homeowner, as is our desire to change out the asbestos siding. It's just to improve the look of that material from the street. The drop siding, or Dutch lap siding it's also called, is the same siding, for reference, that's on the Dunbar property next door to Amadale. And that was the original siding on that house from an even earlier era, so.
So the request is for the siding, for resurfacing with brick, the sidewalk and the steps, the addition of the metal railing, and a new front door. Yes. Or not a new, but a replaced front door.
And at one point, there was a metal railing around that front stoop. We don't know what it looked like,
Yeah.
but.
To replace the railing. Any questions or concerns about any of this from the commission? If not, is there a motion to approve case 683?
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other questions or comments? If not, all in favor of approval signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Case 683 is approved. Next case, number 684, COA requested by Carter Edmondson for modifications to a previously approved certificate of appropriateness at 1410 Madison Avenue. And
Yep. Yeah, you have to leave it.
Lance has asked to be recused.
Okay, so, this is the proposed new house at 1410 Madison Avenue. You'll recall, this is the site where there was the existing cottage that had the big camelback addition that was approved for, demolition and new construction August of 2021. So the applicant is returning to the commission to request some changes to the approved plans for new construction, primarily on the front elevation, although there's a little change to the rear. The porch columns no longer feature a brick base, and they reach from the porch roof to the ground. And the front windows are now proposed to be steel windows and a steel door in place of the previously approved door. And then on the rear elevation, which we can scroll to later, there are now two bricked-in sort of openings on the, rather than the true windows on the first floor. These changes deviate from the more craftsman-style details of the previously approved design, and the commission should evaluate these changes based on the recommendations of the Oxford Design Guidelines for new construction. The proportion and rhythm of the previous design more obviously fit the recommendation that the proportions of a new building should be compatible with those of its neighbors. The proposed new windows and door are much larger and do not recall the double-hung, single, or paired windows that are common to bungalows and cottages that are existing on Madison Avenue. The commission may find that the design of the proposed windows and doors does meet the guidelines. We have seen full light windows and doors approved in new construction in the historic district, but certainly not in steel. The guidelines recommend that the material used for walls, windows, sloping roofs, details, and other visible elements within a historic district should be respected in the design of a new building. And in some districts where most or all of the buildings on a street use the same exterior material, the new building should normally use those or similar materials. So staff is recommending denial of the COA as proposed. The commission may consider approving the design in a modified form, say perhaps the same design with wood or aluminum clad windows, but that's going to be up to the commission to decide. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you have, and Jonathan is here on behalf of the applicant.
Jonathan, you're representing the owner?
Oh, the chimney, yeah. They're also proposing adding a second chimney.
Yeah.
Sorry, I totally left that out of the report. And then I can scroll to the rear elevation so you guys can see that comparison.
And Jonathan Maddox is representing the owner, correct?
Yes.
We'll open the floor for comments. I would have to say it's pretty radical change as far as I'm concerned. But Jonathan, would you
I
like to?
understand. Why don't we start on the back, because that's much simpler.
I just want to set the tone before you begin.
I know, I'm trying to diffuse it. The two windows that are in the lower right are in a master bedroom. There are other windows in that bedroom, but they look right into the side of a detached garage, so they really don't do anything other than look at a wall. So we propose just to remove those windows. It's very difficult to see in this, maybe you can see it on your computer, but we kind of have an outline of where the window would be, and just within the brick, we kind of recall that shape, but we don't need those windows. So we've asked permission to remove those. I think the addition of a new chimney on the front giving symmetry to the other one that's there, probably is a pretty straightforward request. From there, we're talking about the different style column and base, and then the different style windows, which are requests of family members of the owner.
It must have just been the illustration I was looking at before, because the height of the roof here is the same.
Yes, there are no modifications to the massing at all.
The one we were looking at earlier, it looked like it was twice as tall.
It's just simply changes in the windows, which would be, and I guess we maybe said this, only in this front section of the house. Along the sides and back, the traditional windows that we already had would remain. So we're just talking about these windows, and this is a dining room on the right and living room on the left.
So at the windows and then the plinth, if that's what it's called, under the columns,
Or base, yes.
is taken out, which was sort of the craftsman nod that existed before.
Those columns, as shown in the lower image, are the same columns that we have on the back of the house, and which were approved on the back of the house. But we did think that the brick bases added to the detail of the house, but been asked to remove them.
Well, let me say that I do think the chimney is a nice addition, but I wonder why you or the owners would want to get away from a craftsman style, which is what the house is. I mean, it's now not that at all.
Well, and its neighbors are as well.
Right, and the top one looks, you know, so cohesive, and like, you know, it fits with those houses, it echoes what's already there. I don't see that in the new rendering.
It faces north, so they were worried about it being a little dark and just wanted to get as much light in as they could, and they liked the style of a steel window. I think, you know, a compromise was suggested that we at least maybe have more glass like that, but we don't do it in steel, but do it in a more traditional aluminum-clad wood window, which is what's on the rest of the house. And so if the material of the window is a sticking point and not the shape, then I think I'll try to make that work and satisfy the owner.
It's not a cottage anymore.
Totally different.
It's lost its charm.
I think the window shape does matter. The patterns of the panes is more craftsman. I mean, I don't know if you can make those bigger. Okay. Those look pretty big.
I don't think it's gonna give them that much more light to go for.
You know, we spent a lot of time talking earlier about the owner finding a design that would blend and be more bungalow, a bungalow look, and I don't know that they've retained the bungalow look with the changes you're suggesting.
You know, Jonathan, I think that the columns, the base that's in the original front elevation, is something that you don't see everywhere, and it gives it charm, where the columns and the proposed are everywhere. So you kind of lose the personality of the house. I still like the second chimney. I do like that, but I just think it's been changed to not be what it is.
I'm curious, Jonathan, the front and back we see, but we don't see the sides. I mean, are they getting any light through the sides?
Yeah, there are windows on the side.
Okay.
Is that previous case file available? I didn't bring a printed copy of it either.
Because I like the additional chimney too, and you often see in craftsman style houses, if I'm correct, you know, the flank, windows that flank chimneys.
Jonathan, it's not sounding real good here.
could be 2 out of 4.
And, you know, just to repeat what I think everybody here has said in one way or another, the new windows that are being proposed just don't seem to harmonize as well as the early ones that we approved. And the columns and the loss of that brick structure on the bottom, not moving forward into this proposal has the same effect of sort of missing the mark on the bungalow that we approved. Does anybody want to add anything to that?
Just, can you refresh my memory, didn't we approve this for painted brick as well?
Yes. I'm not sure it will be painted, it might be a light brick, but we did. Yes, as a last resort.
Do we want to discuss at all, there's been comments about the fact that the windows that are proposed are metal, and it sounds like the owner would be willing to consider wooden windows, but the size is the issue. So I think we got two questions, and that is our opinion of the design of these windows, even if they were made of wood. Any comments about that? I mean, the new proposal is you know, just a completely different configuration of lights in the windows. So for me, it's not so much the material it's made of, but rather the configuration of the lights, panes.
I understand.
Any other comments or questions for Mr. Maddox? And just sort of suspecting how the vote might go, is this one that we might want to consider tabling? Which would be the easiest result to deal with for the owner?
Well, that's up
time-wise?
to the applicant if they would like to table, but I believe the choices would be approve, deny, approve with conditions, or changes. So perhaps
Well,
the rear elevation changes in the chimney.
Yeah, I'd welcome suggestions from the commission.
And then, Jonathan, if you are interested in tabling, you could certainly speak up. I don't know what that would do.
Yeah, I don't know what the outcome of tabling it would be. If we, if you're not leaning towards allowing them to have those larger windows, I'm not sure what we would do other than just simply go back to the way it was originally designed.
It appears that we are favorably impressed with the addition of the chimney, but other than that, not so much.
But those, the chimney and the rear window can be voted on.
We've
Those
really
can be
not,
voted on and approved in another
we've
part.
not talked about the rear, we've not talked about the rear elevation. And, you know, quite candidly, nobody will see the rear elevation. Yeah, so
Including the owner.
I don't think that's an issue for us.
Where this is.
Is there a motion that we approve all or some of this COA?
Well, I think you've answered that question, that there are two parts that we would approve, and
Yeah.
the others we would deny.
So I'd like to I suppose, get a motion affirming the parts that we would approve. Or do we have to deal with the whole thing?
Motion with those conditions.
Yeah.
So,
A
with-
motion to approve, if this is what it is, the rear changes
So a motion
and the
to
addition
approve
of the second chimney.
Okay, I can make a motion to approve the rear addition and the second chimney, and would like for the applicants to come back to us maybe with a different idea again.
think we have to deny them.
So you would deny the,
So I denied the grass outlet. But I would like for them to be able to come back.
So we should vote on the back and the chimney.
I think it can all be done at the same time.
so what I'm hearing is that Diane has made a motion to approve the second chimney and the changes to the rear elevation and deny the proposed changes to the front elevation. Does that sound correct?
That sounds correct.
That is the motion that I think we ought to have.
That is what Diane said, yes.
Is there a second to that motion? Second. A point of, it's not a point of order, but an observation. You've already been approved, that front elevation, the earlier one, has been approved. So if you go back to that, there will be no reason for you to come back
Right.
again. You've heard the motion, the second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The altered motion passes. Thank you, Jonathan. Yeah, your batting average is pretty decent. This is a complimentary presentation for 719 South 8th Street. Am I ahead of myself? 719, yeah, 8th Street.
So I'm gonna let Jonathan present. We generally let the client or applicant present a complimentary review since it's simply for feedback. I will just note that the building is listed as contributing in the historic district, and it is described as a one-story, 5-bay brick veneer. This is not the right description.
It is, yes, it's clear.
Oh, it is, okay. It's,
It's not really that big, but
yeah, okay. With craftsman influence, built circa 1925. It's listed as contributing in the historic district. And here is the photo from the survey. It is brick veneer, sorry.
it's
Jonathan Maddox.
multiple kinds of brick veneer.
Jonathan Maddox is here to explain further or answer questions. Again, it's a complimentary review.
So this property has been a rental for a very long time. The primary structure that you're looking at in this picture, and maybe we can scroll down to the first page of pictures, is 2 apartments, and then there is an outbuilding directly behind it that is 2 more apartments, and then there's a 2-story building on the right, that has 1 apartment down and storage above, but at one time I think was also an apartment on the 2nd floor. The new owner of this property wants to turn all of that into one single-family residence. We are...
Turn all 3 buildings?
Yes. We're primarily just talking to you today about the primary structure, because it sort of sets the tone for what else we're able to do. If we could look at that site plan view, in addition to being 2 apartments, it's also been added onto numerous times. Back up to the site, that view right there. So the center core section is what we believe to be the original structure, and then everything that's shaded solid gray are previous additions, including the front porch, and a carport structure on the left, some sort of media room on the left, and then the second apartment in the rear. We have worked on a design for converting this into a single-family house and are able to do it with a modest addition on the upper right that's shown with line hatch, and we'd like to put a porch along the rear of it, as illustrated by that dashed line. However, it's very chopped up. There is no, quality materials in the house anyway. I want to get some feedback from you guys about how important it is for us to sink all the money we're going to have to sink into rehabbing that structure to really work as a single-family house. Now, I will say that my clients are very happy with the overall floor plan design. So if we were able to remove that structure and start over, we would build back essentially the same floor plan that we are going to do for the renovation. But it, would certainly make a lot more sense than trying to, open up all those interior walls. To really satisfy a family living there with multiple children, we need a little more room than even that modest addition can give us. So we'd like to go up into the second floor, which we do on the rear in some way. Obviously, what's there now can't really be counted on to support even a partial second floor. So yet another reason why we would all be better off if it were a new construction. So as we are beginning the design process, I just wanted to see kind of where you were leaning towards this. If you feel very strongly that we need to do a heavy renovation, we can go down that route. But if you are feeling lenient and allowing us to start over, we'd like to propose a new structure that's very similarly based on the existing structure, which would allow us just to correct some construction issues, few proportion issues, and build the house that warrants the amount of money and effort that's about to be put into that property.
What kind of condition is the core house?
That picture of the kitchen on the bottom right that's an everyday picture. Looks sort of like somebody moved out, but that's one of the best pictures. It's really not in good condition. It has college kids living in it.
Is it level floors, unlevel?
Because it's been added on to a couple times, there is some wonky
What's the
relationship.
ceiling height in the
8 feet primarily, although one of the additions it's shorter than 8 feet, probably 7'2". You can't get from the front of the house to the back of the house inside. You never could. There's a wall that appears to be about 12, 14 inches thick. Not quite sure about. The original chimney, which is visible in the lower left photograph on the porch, doesn't go through the roof, so that was taken off at some point, I guess when that porch was extended all the way across. The neighbor to the right, whose name I'm blanking on, and who has lived in that property next door her entire life, and I think she's in her, probably 70s, I guess. She recalled that the house was originally not painted. It had a very small front porch, full fireplace, and that there used to be some structure on the roof. And we've got a partial picture. I didn't bring it because it really is not clear at all, that there was either some sort of dormer or front-facing gable or something like that that was on the original structure. It's until we really get up in the attic and figure it out, I can't really say how that might have been before the porch was added. When the porch was originally added, it had a flat roof. It subsequently had a pitched roof put on top of it, which hasn't done anything for the odd proportions of it.
There was a house similar to it on the left side, right?
Yes,
And
two doors down.
okay, and
Very-
that's where the Avents built the farm?
Yeah, in fact, this is there are 4 properties from Fillmore to this house, and the same owner owns all of them.
Okay.
And the one to the immediate left, as I'm looking at, is about to be completed in a major.
Yes, that was a project where we really wanted to renovate it, and we got pretty far into opening it all up for the renovation and realized it was in horrible condition. We came back, we got an approval to tear that one down. We built the original renovation plans again on that one, similar to what we want to do here. The same situation. I will say this house is probably in better condition than that one, structurally, so that's not going to be a surprise when we open it up. But it doesn't, nothing about it really works as a single-family house. So it's going to take a lot of modifications.
The little lean-to carport that is existing, on the new plans, you're showing a new carport.
We would have probably a detached
And
carport.
until I heard you say that a single family wants to occupy, there are like 9 rental, there are a lot of rental units in those 3
Yes.
buildings. But this appeared to me to block the drive that went back to the
It does, right.
rentals.
Yeah, they'll have a pool in the rear yard. The 2-story building right behind the new carport, we would probably have torn that down, but it's built on the property line. So if we were to do anything to it other than just spruce it up, we couldn't put it back where it is. So that would be turned into, some home office space, playroom, that sort of thing. There's a second building in the back, as we talked about, that would be reconfigured as a pool house.
Something I like about this, your drawing there is, the blue-green house with the two courtyards, you know which one I'm talking about on that street? It's painted.
Yes, it has
it-
two forward gables, they're screened in. Yeah.
It echoes that nicely, and I like that. Also on that street, there's a strong courtyard game, you know, and, you know, I don't know what landscaping would look like here, but, I don't know what I'm trying to say, if that might be considered some, I don't know what I'm saying. I like the courtyards.
Not that it really matters, but the house on the left, which is the one that's under construction now and wrapping up soon, belongs to Marty and Candace Carr. This is their son, Patrick. So it's sort of all in the family here.
I'm curious, if you want to tear the house down and start again, and I understand it's less expensive to tear it down and start again, I find it interesting that they want to build a new house that looks a lot like the old house. Is that just in deference to the neighborhood?
Yeah, I mean, I think they like what we think we can turn that house into. But just, you know, the A to Z on it is pretty crazy when you consider how you would renovate it to get there. One liberty we took in the rendering that you saw on the side is we've increased the steepness of the pitch of the roof a little bit. The roof's very flat on the house that's there now. It has those Jurgen head ends, which we would do again, and a gable window in the end, although the attic is like 4.5 feet tall. So you can't stand up in the existing house. I don't know why those windows were up there. We'd beef that up a little bit because, not that we want to occupy that portion on the front, but it will help us screen to a two-story in the back.
I think it looks wonderful.
You know, I think it looks wonderful and much better, but I'm really conflicted. I mean, we're all about preservation, and we make people jump through lots of hoops to tear something down. It's got to be structurally dangerous and many other words.
I just ask you to take a hard look at what it is that you're maybe wanting to ask us to keep.
I'm just wondering if, once you get into it, if you won't find serious problems, being that, A, it's been added on many times, B, it's been a rental property and not taken care of. I'm curious to know what will happen if you started renovating it, like what happened before.
It's not as old as the other house. I think that's part of what I was saying. You know, it probably is in better condition. No doubt there are some issues with it, because it really hasn't been maintained as anything other than an investment property. And
You know, the picture of the kitchen, it could just be bad housekeeping.
well, it is. I think I really couldn't resist putting that picture in there, and shows kind of the cleanest one I
I
could.
just am anticipating other people that come forward to demolish a house because it's practical and it's economical. And I would be really reluctant, I would personally, to set some sort of precedent without really seeing a structural engineer's report about the house. I mean, yeah, it's a dilemma.
I don't want to argue the credibility of its being considered a contributing structure, but if you really look at this house, it just isn't the kind of house that I think we would want to go to great efforts to maintain.
Well, and I appreciate the fact that they want to build a new house that looks kind of like the old house, but, I'm reminded of the brand-new house that we've got over on, Hayes. Sound as a dollar, but brand new is a shiny penny. It's not a historical house.
Would you be able to bring back any sort of evidence of the conditions, like under?
Well, yes, we would be able to do that soon.
Your case, and I
The-
think that might be the tipping point that
Yeah.
everybody's kind of looking for.
All of the tenants will be out, I think in July, maybe at the latest. So at that point, we really have kind of the full roaming.
I would say looking for one way or the other, not
Yeah.
just trying to
Yeah,
tear it down,
sure.
but,
Yeah.
you know, you bolster your case and it makes sense to us.
Any other comments? I think you've gotten a fair, response from us. Are you satisfied with what you've heard from here?
I think so. Yeah.
I don't know, maybe.
I was getting much
That-
more
no, that-
positive feedback from Diane and Blair before you started talking about it.
Satisfied might not be the right word, but do you?
Well, is it fair to poll others? Can I do that? Can I ask Blair, I mean, are you kind of agreeing more with Jack? Are you seeing that, given these circumstances, or Jolie, what do you think?
I mean, I would like to know more about the structure of the building. I think what the renovation rendering is beautiful, and, I think you could make it brand new, beautiful too, but without knowing more about the actual house, it'd be hard to decide.
Is that the consensus?
I would agree.
Well, I'm going back to what you and Carter did. It was about building it back in similar fashion, and also you got a structural engineer, a city engineer to look at it, see what kind of shape it was in.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what you need to do.
I think we'd be doing the right thing if we ask you to come forward with more evidence that, demolition is appropriate.
Okay. Thank you for your feedback.
Thank you. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to bring forward or talk about in the meeting? Oh, I don't know why I'm having so much difficulty with my agenda. I stapled the pages together wrong. That could be a start. I'm sorry. Oh, no, I'm using my old one. Another complimentary review to demolish the existing shed and garage and build a new addition at 1005 University Avenue. Welcome.
To the previous complimentary review, I'm gonna let the applicant's architect, present, but I will note that the house is contributing in the, historic district, and the outbuilding that they are proposing to demolish, I did a little bit of Sanborn map research, and I wasn't able to find it on the 1910 or 1916, or, there's a building on the 1948 Sanborn that I don't think is this structure. It's too far back. So, and the outbuilding itself is not, listed on the Historic Resource Inventory Survey, and it certainly doesn't match the style of the house. So, I'm not sure what the age of that structure is, just that helps.
Welcome. Please introduce yourself to us.
Yes. I'm Julie Spears, representing John and Wendy Beard. If we'll look at the site plan first, I guess, well, this is the house, on the corner of University and, I don't know what street that is, but South 10th. It's a unique house, different from most in the historic district, and also different in the way that it's on the border of the more urban area and than the residential, streets that most of the houses in the district are in. On the site plan, and I guess in the photos, we're proposing to remove the existing garage. It's a kind of poorly constructed, low, addition. I don't know when that addition occurred either. And we're also proposing to remove this outbuilding, the shed. Before coming here, we also don't know when that building was built. The owners, this house, was built in 1910, and the owner, it's been in the current owner's family since 1919. So she knows the history really well, but we don't know when that was built. So we do know it's not original to the house, and it has a dirt floor, and it's over the property line. You can see that on the site plan. So that also makes it problematic for using, if it, to use it in the future for anything, it's over the property line. By tearing down the existing garage and the shed, we propose to add back a new garage and a downstairs master suite addition. Before I go into that, there's also the existing front porch. The side that faces South 10th Street has some screen around it. The columns are round concrete columns on the front and the side porch. We propose to remove the screen. I think that shows up in the pictures that that's kind of deteriorated and kind of poorly done, where it covers up some architectural features of the house. So we propose to remove that screen on South 10th Street. So with the addition, what we've done is we've tried to provide a hyphen between the old and the new. The garage pretty much occupies the existing footprint of the existing garage, and we're connecting the two structures with a low pitched roof that kind of appears flat. On the bottom right-hand picture, that is the elevation facing the neighbors, which are the OU Methodist offices on South 10th Street. So that elevation is not really seen from the street, from any of this house has 3 fronts. So this is the one side that is not seen. But what I wanted to point out is, well, actually, that's the wrong picture. The top left picture is that elevation. I wanted to point out the roofs there, how we're trying to break up the mass of the addition, because in the site plan, you can see that the size of the addition is similar to the size of the house, but we don't want it to overpower the house in any way. So with these moves with the roof, we're trying to diminish the scale of the addition and to look like detached and smaller structures. And I'm really pleased. I think that move has been real successful. The materials we're thinking about aren't really shown yet on these preliminary drawings, but for the garage and the master addition, we're thinking a siding material, horizontal siding, painted, probably hardy siding. The roof of the gabled pieces would be asphalt shingles, and the low-pitched roofs would be a metal roof. And again, the pitch is low, that really won't be seen. That material is not really going to be seen. And then we have a garage door.
It's a grand old house, and it's so good that somebody's gonna bring it back to life.
Are they gonna move in at the Beards?
Yes, yes, it will be their permanent residence.
I think maybe one of the main pieces we need to discuss is the existing little it looks kind of Tudor, brick outbuilding, that would be demolished,
Okay.
as part of this. So let's talk about what you see and what you think.
Is this the structure that's on the property line?
Yes, ma'am. It's a shed.
It's over the property line or on it?
It's over.
It's got modern brick,
Yes,
looks like matte, scratch face, matte finish, whatever you call those.
right.
Definitely very old.
No. We spent quite a bit of time discussing this afternoon, trying to figure out the mystery. Like Kate mentioned, it doesn't show up on the Sanborn maps when the house was built. And you even checked, we didn't check up to. Okay. We kind of had a theory that the brick matches one of the neighbors' houses, but we just don't know anything about it.
Well, there's a couple of houses that it matches, right? Along with South Fence, those brick houses right there.
Right.
You think it was built with that house?
Well, we don't know, well, the one it matches is not the one closest to the shed. There's the shed and then a house and then another house, and the brick matches the second house, not the one closest to it. And like I said, it has a dirt floor and it's over the property line, and it's not
It looks like it might have
original.
been dropped by a tornado or something.
Maybe.
Backyard.
I don't think it contributes to the story of this house. It's not visible to the rest of the district. Its placement on the property is not seen from any of the other streets. So most people, unless you walk the property, wouldn't even know it was there. So I don't think it affects the property values, and certainly not hard to replicate.
I personally don't have any big problem with either one of those non-contributing structures going. I might want to talk more about matching those two, that really unique exterior of the original house with painted siding next, I don't know, it seems like that might require more thought to me, but just one person's opinion.
Do they have the desire to paint the current house?
No.
Somebody ask for that?
Just want to get it out of the way.
I'm excited to see it pressure washed. It will be cleaned.
Would anybody like to speak in favor of the preservation of the shed?
I just think legally, since it's not it's on another piece of property as well, that it doesn't need to stay. And to me, that would be a problem to the next property owner.
Have you talked to the adjoining property owner about the house?
We have not. It's owned by the Methodist Church, OU Methodist Church, so we have not reached out to them yet, but we will.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea to do that before you went in and tore it down, or we approved tearing it down.
The Methodist Church is across the street.
Yes, they own those two houses next to this, behind this house. Those are offices.
You know, it's interesting, this little house has got so much detail, and it's really kind of Tudor looking. It's interesting that somebody would have built that with that kind of detail hidden behind a stone castle.
Strange. I would have liked to have been in your brainstorming meeting today. I've been wondering why someone built that there. I certainly don't think it's old or I agree that it doesn't match the story of the house, but I can't figure out why it's there or where it came from. Robert just pointed out it looks kind of like the brick on the building that Bridge Properties owns, it's kind of near there. It has the like siding additions, but, I mean, I looked through every map I had access to, and I couldn't figure out where it
Yeah.
came
If
from, or what it goes
If it were
to.
built behind a house made of the same kind of brick with the same kind of detail, I'd probably want to keep it, but, you know, it's an anomaly, sort of.
I'd be happy to, if you're ready to move on to the proposed additions, kind of those design ideas. I
please.
can, to address kind of Joel's question first about the materials. Well, one, we would like to not match the rock face concrete blocks for sure. And masonry, brick masonry seemed wrong. It seemed competing with the existing masonry that is such a large scale. To do brick seemed just, well, two masonries that are different next to each other just didn't seem right, scale-wise. And so the siding felt like, again, kind of the idea of detached feeling, kind of diminishing the scale of the additions. The siding felt appropriate for that type of building.
Yeah, I totally agree with the no masonry, mixed masonry, and the other, I don't know, it just seems like one is so very different, and one's just this, you see everywhere, it seems like maybe you could hit both, I don't know, just a little different, not real different, not radical, but, yeah, you wanna be able to tell them apart, but I wouldn't wanna see them so far apart that you're like, that's, you know, well, I don't know, it just seems very incongruous.
Joel, I'm looking at the windows, you know, the incongruity, and I wonder if the windows match, I guess, the original property a little bit more instead of the cross in the middle. Maybe that would provide some continuity?
They are still, the new windows are double hung. They're the same type of operation, and, so, yes, we did put, we were trying to distinguish the new from the old, and
Yeah, and I'm just commenting on the materials, not on I'm not critiquing your design at all, I'm just saying that, I don't know.
And Joel?
It's a hard one, I mean, I'm not saying I'm not sitting here with an answer, I'm just saying it's something that I'll have to be really thought very hard about.
well, honestly, it is hard. I've thought about that too, and in kind of design conversations, we've sort of all talked about that almost anything goes except brick. Like, we kind of know brick is not the right choice, but honestly, felt like because of the way the addition is smaller and how we've tried to break it up, I think anything different will work there.
And Joel, you're talking about all the way through from the garage side all the way to the new bedroom side on the
I
other?
guess I am, I mean, I hadn't sat here and studied it, just when I hear painted hardy board, I'm just kind of, it's like fingers on a chalkboard, I hear it so often, and
You know, what's there now, the existing is, I mean, I know it's different than what you're proposing, but if you squint, it's pretty much the same. It's
The whole
wooden addition
house.
comes off the back of the garage door.
Right, yes.
yeah.
The new structure will be the part that goes that way, I'm pointing at the screen toward the church.
Right. The garage is in the same spot as the existing garage. I think the proportions are better, and, but yes, the new part is, the top of the screen.
Anybody else have any comments? You know, I think you're hearing, I mean, I don't hear anything negative coming. I mean, questions about materials and so forth, but as far as that outbuilding, I have not heard anything that makes me think that you would have trouble with the demolition of it.
What do you call the sign, the concrete, what is, what's the term?
It's called concrete rock face block. We looked it up, and this is, a Sears Roebuck house, and it was used on some of those designs, and it was used for a very short number of years, of manufacturing as an economical, easy to put together option for a while.
Is that finish called rustication?
That's the old fashioned, that's like architecture history,
I'm an
yes.
old guy, yeah. And I also grew up in a Sears Roebuck house.
In a what?
In a Sears Roebuck house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yes, this is, a modern version
Yeah.
of rustication. Yes.
Do you have, questions you'd like to ask us? I mean, do you want any more detail or clarification, or any more from our responses to your proposal?
No, I just wanted to show you the direction that we're thinking and see if there were any red flags, or if y'all had any comments, for us to consider as we put together our proposal.
I think if you'll continue your dialogue with Kate and the city about what you're doing and hearing, the questions and observations about finishes and so forth, it seems to me you're on the right track.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Now, yeah, tell me, is there anything else on anybody's agenda? If not, is there a motion that we adjourn?
I make the motion.
Motion?
Second.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Thank you very much.